Hi everyone. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to part 5 of our DevOps for Beginner series. So today we are going to talk about Git. Okay, so we'll understand what is Git. We won't go through how to install a Git, but I'll let you know a documentation from where you can find the steps for installation if you're using Mac or Windows. Then we'll study briefly about local and remote repository. So we'll understand what is local repository, what is remote repository. I'll give you a small demo of both of these and how do you sync your local repository with the remote repository. And then we'll go through a couple of basic commands. Okay. Again, as I've always said, that the idea of this series is to get you all started with some of these tools which are used in DevOps. So again, I'll be just giving you the basics command. If in future, while working on Git, you have any query, you can always refer to their official documentation. Okay. And then we'll see, okay, what after Git. So till now, in these 5 sessions, we've covered the concept of DevOps. Then we started with Linux, and today it's Git. Okay. So what is Git? Git is also known as a version control system, or you can call it as a source control management tool for source code management, or SCM is the abbreviation which you will be hearing. Okay, so what is the purpose of these SCM or version control system? It is to manage and track changes for software code. Okay, so there is an application, for example, say Zoom itself. It's an application, right? You are seeing the running application, but to build this application some code would have been written. Now this code would have been written by so many folks, right? So we wanted a common repository, okay, so which we also call as a remote repository. So for that we use things like GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, etc. And Git helps us to access those remote repositories. Okay, so Git is your distributed version control system. So when we say distributed version control system, that means for all the developers who are going to download this code from the remote repository, it would be same. So it's like once you have downloaded the code on your machine, on your local machine, you don't have to be connected with internet. You can do all the coding work, etc. And then later on, you can commit your changes from your local system, okay, which we call it as your local repository, to a remote repository. So remote repository is the repository which would always have a updated code, a code which is live in the production. Okay, again there is this concept of branching, okay, which we'll study while doing a end-to-end project. Okay, so today I'll be covering majorly basic commands. Okay, and here and there I'll give you a brief things about, okay, when we merge our changes to the main branch, what all happens, okay, after merging the changes. Yeah, so source code management tool, it helps you to track the changes. It also helps you to know the history of the change, right? You all would have heard that whenever there is a bug, okay, a common scenario, okay, so what we do, we go ahead and we find out, okay, this bug is introduced because of the latest changes which was done as part of the sprint, or it was an existing bug. So how do you find out all those things? It's because of the commit history which a Git maintains. Okay, and there are some web app as well, like through which you can access these repositories, and there would be certain options like, okay, Git blame, Git diff. So using those buttons, you can see the changes. Like, okay, if you do Git blame, so you get to know on a particular portion of code who all has contributed. Okay, diff would give you a difference between your changes and the changes which was already there. Okay, so I'll be telling you all these three things throughout our DevOps series, because source control forms the basics, right? it's for this code, software code only. You want to do automation, you want to build this code, you want to deploy this code. So your managing your code is important part of your CI/CD. Okay, who are the people who write this code? It's developer. But after that, what happens once the changes are merged is part of your DevOps, right? Okay, so if my changes are merged, what I want to do, I want to run unit test cases, I want to deploy my changes. Okay, how do I deploy my changes? What are the tools I can use? Yeah. So how do you set up? So you have to install Git on your machine. Once you've installed, for Windows, I'm using Git Bash to run those commands for Git, right? But for Mac users, everything happens through terminal. And how do you install? So they have this, Git has its official documentation. Okay, let me share that documentation with you. Okay, I'll share that after I'm done with this 1 or 2 slides. Okay, so you have to install the Git. Then how do you distinguish between a normal directory and a Git repository? So for that, you have to run a command which is git init. So what it does, it tells you that now the folder on which you are working or file you are working on is now a part of a Git repository. So you'll see a hidden file named as .git in a folder. That signifies that the folder on which you are working or file in which you are working is your, it's part of your Git repository. So if somebody deletes this .git file, then your directory behaves as your normal directory. Okay. Again, it helps you to track the changes or untrack changes. Again, you can there is this file which we call it as .gitignore. So there you can tell what you want to track and what you don't want to untrack. So anything which is there in .gitignore, that won't be tracked. Okay, for example, you've created a in Mac, I've seen that whenever you are doing some work on Git, some default files get created on a Mac, which you don't want to make it part of your master repository or a remote repository. So every time you have to say ignore, right? Git ignore so and so file. But if you want to avoid even writing that git ignore again and again, what you can do is just simply create a .git ignore file and specify all those file types or extension which you don't want to track. Okay. So this I've already told you that it helps you to track changes. Also, you can revert changes. Same example which I was saying. Suppose for understanding, we had a remote repository. Okay, we had a remote repository, and that had V1 of the code. Okay, version 1 of the code. It was very stable because this is the code which our client are using. For example, Facebook. Right now, we are using Facebook. Just giving an example. Suppose you are working for an application which is very similar to Facebook. So the changes were merged. You downloaded that application. Now it is working fine. After 10 days, we had picked certain item in this sprint, okay, to work for this application. Now we merged our changes and we deployed the changes. Now instead of V1, you have got V2, right? Now the moment V2 was released, we started app crash. Okay, so there are two ways: either fix the issue which was introduced by V2 version 2, or what you have to do is you have to revert the changes. So to revert the changes, you should know what was there before V2. Okay, so all these things are done using Git. So it tracks your changes, it helps you to revert those changes. Okay, and how do you revert the changes? Everything in Git happens through something called as a branch. Okay, so the main branch is or a stable code is known as either main branch or a master branch. Okay, from that master branch, for any work we do, development work we do, we create a new branch. Okay, so it's like a tree structure. You've got a tree which is your repository, which is your code. Now if you want to add anything to that code, what you'll do, you'll cut a branch. Okay, you make the changes to that branch, and then you push those changes. Okay, I'll show you all those things in the demo. Okay, also you can commit changes to a specific file or all the changes. For example, I had in my code, I had 5 files. Okay, so I had got five files. All these 5 files formed a part of my master branch. Okay, now as I told you, this is distributed system, right? Git is my distributed version control system. So what would happen is, I'll take a copy of this on my machine. Okay, when I'll take a copy, I'll have the local repository. Okay, now I start making some changes. Okay, these are my changes. Yeah, so see, master had these 5. On my local, I would have exact replica. Okay, that's why it's a distributed version control system. Now I made this change, and this change. I got to know that there is another developer in my team who also is working on the bottom 2 files. I mean, sorry, these 2 files. Okay, and it's same as what I am doing. So I decided, okay, let's not do a duplicate work. I'll just focus on this. And whatever changes I've done here, I won't merge it to my master branch. Okay, so now when you'll be pushing your changes to the remote repository from your local system, you can decide, okay, do you want to add all the files or you want to add a specific file. So git add is the command. So if you see git add dot or git add dash dash all, in that case all the changes would be merged. Okay, but if you specify a specific file name, so the changes which was done here, only this would be merged to the master. Okay, yeah, collaboration easier with multiple people, as I told you. Okay, so you have single branch master. I am working on v2 of this, and there is another person which is working on v3 of this. We both, so this had 5 files. Yeah, even v2 has 5 files, 4 5, and v3 also has these 5 files. Okay, and now this person is adding another file to this, and this particular person is adding something to one of the files. Okay, so now when we have to merge our changes, you see there could be two possibility. We don't have any overlapping changes, so v2 and v3 would be merged to master without any issue. But there could be a possibility that we both tend to make changes to the same line of code. Then there would be a conflict. So a conflict you have to resolve it either manually. So most of the time conflict resolution takes place manually, because you want to review the changes before merging it. Okay, you want to ensure that the change which the v3 guy did and the one which I am doing, if I go ahead and remove his part of a code to just resolve the conflict, what impact it would have, right? So for a conflict, you have to manually see before resolving. Okay. Yeah. So when we talk about Git, there is a important concept about regions. So there are 3 regions in a Git. Okay. The first region, which is your working directory, which is your local system. This is your local system. Okay. So we call it as local directory or a working directory. Okay, so after we have done the changes, we have to move our changes to the staging area. Okay, so I'll show you. There would be a color change when your changes are there in the local directory. When you check the status using git status, you'll see a different color for those files. When you add them to staging area, they would have different. And finally, what you do, you push the changes to the remote repository. Okay, so there are 3 regions when we talk about Git. Okay, yeah. So what all we've studied till now, we talked about what is Git. It is a tool, open source tool. It's distributed version control system. It helps you to track the changes, revert the changes, find out the difference between the changes. Okay. Also, you can decide what you want to track, what you don't want to untrack, and how do you convert your normal directory into a Git repository using a specific command. Okay. And then we studied about there are majorly three areas: working directory, staging area, and remote repository. All these three have different colors. Okay. So let's do a demo. Okay. Let me open Git bash for you all. Okay. Right. So I'm here. Let me see, where am I? I'm in C users gmster. Let me create a folder, test git look. Oh, mkdir guys, test git. Okay, I'll do cd test git look. Now see this very carefully. Okay, ls-a. There's nothing. Now let me create two files: careers.txt and jyoti.txt. Okay, again I'll do ls. Yeah. Now I want to convert this to my Git repository. So what is the command I'll use? Git. Watch carefully, right? This particular thing. Git init. What do you see? Master. This is our main branch. Okay. What do you see here? A .git file. Okay. So if your folder has this .git file, that converts your normal directory to your Git repository. Right now, what is it? It's my working directory or a local directory where I'm working. Okay, let's go ahead and write something. This is my first file. Blah, blah. Okay, now see this git status. What does the git status command? So I'm covering the next slide as well, which is basic git command. Okay. So first I told you how do you convert your normal directory to a git repository by doing git init. Okay. How do you install git or git bash? For that you can refer to any online document. The best would be that of a git SCM itself. Okay. So I'll share this document a little late in this session. Okay. Yeah. Now this is not committed. See, these are my untracked files. Okay. Now I want to track them. So what I'll do? Git add careers txt. Now let me do git status. What do you see, guys? This is still untracked and hence it's in red, but the other one is in. Now Git has started tracking this file, careers.txt. Again, where am I? I'm in my local or working directory. Okay. Now let me commit these changes. When I commit this change, the commit would happen to which area? To a stage area. So for that, the command is git commit. -m is not compulsory. What is the purpose of -m? It helps you to specify any message. Okay. So it's a best practice to add some detail, right? Probably a Jira ID for which these changes were done. Okay. Git commit -m, and which one you want to commit? The one which is being tracked, which is careers.txt. Okay. Now if I do git okay. I gave a space size. Okay, the changes. What do you see? One file changed. There is 0 insertion, 0 deletion. Okay, if I do git status, okay, this is still untracked. but what we are tracking is your careers.txt file. Okay. Now, whatever I did, that was on my local system. Okay. So let me just quickly show you about Git. Okay. So in Git, when we call as, there are like 3 areas. This is your working directory. What is it? That's your working, which is your local system. That's your working directory. When you do git add, that's when you start tracking your files. Okay. When we say tracking, you're tracking everything. When the changes were made, who made the change, right? So by tracking, we mean you are trying to find out all the things, data and metadata related to that particular file. So when you do git add, your changes goes to another region, which we call it as a staging area, right? And when you do git commit, now change would happen to your local repository. So from local repository, if you want to push your changes to the remote repository, for that the command is git push. Okay. Now let me take you. So whatever I did, it was on my local. Now if I want to put it in GitHub, okay. So what I'll do, yeah, right. So I'll go ahead. I want to create a new repository. So I want to, whatever work I'm doing on my local system, I want to go ahead and add it on GitHub. Okay. You may ask, what is GitHub? Okay. So your GitHub is, like, similarly, like the way you host your application, GitHub is a code hosting platform. Okay, it's for keeping your code, any documentation about that code, any README file, any configuration file you want to keep, you can keep it on GitHub. Okay, and if whatever changes, see, when my code is on local machine, you cannot access it. But if I'll put it here on GitHub on a code hosting platform, you'll be able to access my changes and you can download it on your system. Again, there's this two concept, like public, you can create a public repository or you can create a private repository. So in case of public, the changes, whatever is there in my GitHub account would be visible to everyone. But if I make it private, then only the people whom I invite, they'll be able to see this repository. Okay. So let me just name it test git flow. Okay, any description. This is for remote repository. Again, guys, remember, whatever changes are there on my local, it's my local git repository. How I was able to create that normal directory to a git repository, local git repository, git init. Okay, so all the changes which is being done, it is being tracked on my machine. Okay, but you want to put it on a common code hosting platform, so that now what this would do, GitHub would manage, okay, in a specific file who all had made, who had downloaded and who had made the changes. Okay, keep watching this. Now if you want to, there are two ways. Like, what you can do is, you can create a new repository on the command line. So same thing, right? Whatever I have done manually, right? I went ahead, I said new repository, I named the repository, okay, and save. Without logging also, you can go ahead and create your repository. Okay. One thing which you have to do, see, there are two things which are communicating, this GitHub account and your local system. So you have to make some configuration changes, like you have to add the keys from GitHub account to your git config file. Okay. So do study about what is the purpose of git config file. My idea is to give you a basics. So that's why I'm not going in detail, right? But once you guys go through all the videos of the basic, practice it, then we'll go to the intermediate level and then to the advanced level. Okay. Now, push an existing repository from the command line. Yes, I have my existing repository. I want to push the changes of that existing repository here, okay, under test git flow. So whatever was there in my, which folder, guys? Whatever was there in my git bash test git flow, okay, in this is there in my local system. So whatever is there on my local should be synced with whatever there is on this GitHub. Okay, it's not necessary that the folder name is same, right? But it's a coincidence that I gave just both them same name, but it's not necessary. So I'll do paste. Okay. Earlier, the main branch used to be called as master, but now we have something called as master. Okay, let's refresh this page. See, you are seeing just careers.txt. Why? Because I merged only this changes. Okay, if you open, you can see this file. Okay. Oh, looks like I thought I was typing something here, but I didn't type, or I typed into the file. That's okay. That's completely okay. Now, okay. If I decide, I'll go ahead and make some changes. Okay. So I'll do edit. Though it's not a best practice to directly make changes to a remote repository. Uh, there would be like, okay, if you want to make changes, you have to cut a branch, okay, and then make your changes. Let me show you by cutting a branch. What if suppose I go out, yeah, and bash. I hope you all remember what was the name of the file. Test get cd test. Okay. Now I don't want to directly merge everything to the main branch, okay? Because with that, what happened if I send out some buggy code, the changes would be merged to master branch and client would be able to experience that bug, okay? So for that, what I suggest my developer guys, whatever changes you want to do, please cut a branch. So how do you cut a branch? It is git checkout dash b and the branch name, okay? Yeah. Now I go ahead and do ls. What do I see? Only careers.txt. Jyoti.txt is still not added to the remote, but it's there in my local. So I decided, okay, through this branch, I'll merge the changes of Jyoti.txt. So git add Jyoti.txt. Okay, git commit adding of t. Okay, git push. When we say git push, that means push the changes from local to the remote repository. When we say git pull, then you specify you are pulling something from your remote to your local. Push is from local to your remote, and pull is from remote to your local. Okay, git push origin head. Okay, so what is my head? Head is my current. Okay, and origin is my remote repository. Okay, now let me go ahead and refresh. In main branch, okay, you see careers.txt. There's another branch. Okay, what is the name of that branch? My branch. It has got these two files. Okay, yeah. So now my developer has raised a change for me to review. So I'll say compare and pull request. So what you mean by pull request? It's like merging your changes from one branch to another. So what I'm saying, merge the changes of my branch to the main branch. So whenever you hear your developer saying I have raised a PR, that means they have raised a request for merging their changes to the master branch. Okay, so I say, yeah, go ahead. Okay, everything seems good. I'll go ahead and do merge. Okay. So the changes are committed from my branch to the main branch. Okay, so let me go ahead and see what I see in the main branch. Now you see 2 files. Okay, guys, got it? Let me tell you about pulling also if I want to pull a change. So what I'll do, I'll just create a file, add readme file. Okay, this is a remote repo, readme file. Okay, commit new file. So you can say commit directly to the main branch, or you can create a new branch and then for this commit and start pulling. So I'll say directly merge. Yeah, so I've got now 3 files, but on my local, I'm tracking just 2 files. Okay, so first I'll switch to my main branch. Okay, right now where I am, I'm on my branch. Okay, so how do you switch to the main branch? Okay, git checkout main. You'll come to your main branch. Okay, if you want to go to my branch, what do you do? Git checkout my branch. Okay, if you want to cut a branch, what do you do? Git checkout dash b my second branch. Okay, now let me go to git checkout main only. Okay, here let me see what all I have. Just 1 file, but you see here in the remote we've got 3 files. So I want to pull the changes, right? So how do you pull the changes? Git pull origin. Now what do you see? Git status, or no, not status. What do you see? Okay, I hope now the concept is clear, right? Again, this is very basic. Refer to this document here, which I was sharing with you all. Here you'll find everything, right? You can just search for commands. Say, if I say git cherry pick, okay, right? So what is the purpose of cherry pick? For example, Sunand and me, we both were working on a common repository. We decided that, okay, Jyoti would stop doing that work and Sunand would continue. Okay, so I had already made certain changes to my local repository and I had pushed that branch to my remote repository, right? So what Sunand can do is from the remote repository and from my branch, he can pull some of the changes. Okay, so for that the command is git cherry pick. Okay, then there's like, okay, you have got git merge, everything you find here, right? Git merge. Merge is what I was doing manually. Remember, there was my branch and then there was main branch. So the changes from my branch was being merged to the main branch. Okay, so that's called merging. So you can do it through tool also, or so how do you do it through tool? Just do pull request, new pull request. Okay, and you should have a branch here. Okay, see, or both of them are same because I had merged the changes from my branch to main branch. That's why there's nothing to compare and there's nothing to merge. Okay, but what if I created a new branch? So let's go ahead and create a new branch. Okay, there are various ways. One way is through command line and second is through the application. So I'll show you through the command line. Okay, git. So how do you create a new branch? Check out dash b. Okay, touch from the txt. Now, first thing what we'll do, git add from dot txt with merge. Now, what I can do is git merge. Now, let me show it through the tool once again. So what I have to do, git push origin is like your original branch and head is your current. Okay, now see here, you got this message, right? My saying has recent push, and also you start seeing that here. Okay. Now if I want to merge the changes from this to this. Okay, so what do I do? One way was to create this pull request, compare and pull request. If I do compare and pull request, see this. It says you want to merge the changes of this to the main branch. Okay. So this would happen through tool, but I want to merge it directly from the command line. Okay. So let me try. Go to documentation, right? And here you see various ways to merge your changes. Okay. This is your master topic, right? So from the topic, see this topic is like your branch, new branch, which I was telling you, right? So it had DEFG, and the new branch which I created has changes as ABC. So when I'll merge, what would happen? It would have ABCDEFG. Okay. So how do you do a git merge? We just let me git merge. I think source is your git merge master. Git merge. Oh, okay. No remote for the current branch. Right? Because git merge origin. Oh, I tend to forget how to use git merge. Okay. Merge changes from one branch to master branch. Git merge my second branch. Let me quickly. Oh, come on, guys. What am I doing? So I'll go to see. Let me first ensure that I have merged all my changes. Okay, to my this branch. Okay, now I'll do git checkout master. Okay. Oh, git checkout main, because our master branch is main. Now I'd say to the master merge changes of this second branch to. Yes. Now let me go ahead and let's see. Oh, I didn't make any change to the file, but here you'll see that did I make any change to any of the files? Scrum.txt. Okay, right? So again, the merge, whatever merge I have done, guys, don't get confused. See, whatever merge I did on my local system, but I have to merge the changes which I have merged, right? I want to sync it with my master as well. You can see the message as well. This branch is one here. This branch is one commit ahead of main. Which branch? My second branch too, because it has got an extra file, scrum.txt. But if I go to the main, it is not having scrum.txt, right? But in my local, you won't see such difference. Why? Because on my local, I have merged everything, right? So what I have to do is git push origin head. So what I'm saying, whatever is there on my main branch in the local, please sync it with the main branch of remote. Okay, let me go to here. Now you see this file scrum.txt and no more of that message. Got it? So first you do all your changes on your local, then you can sync it to the remote. Okay, so remember, when we say pull, it is taking the changes down from remote to local, and pushes from local to your remote. Okay, so at times you see, oh, I've committed my changes, but I'm not seeing things on my remote because you've not pushed the changes. And if there is something on your remote, you were working on certain piece of a code and somebody else was also parallelly doing something, right, and he has updated. So if you won't be regularly pulling the changes from remote at a regular interval, you might lag behind, right? So maybe when you took the copy on your local, it was V1, and you continued working for certain thing for 1 or 2 months, and now the remote is having V3. So yours is V1 and now we are working on V3, right? So you should always continuously take pull of the system. Also, what happens is if you don't take a frequent pull request, on the last day when you go ahead and merge your changes, you see a lot of conflicts, merge conflict. So it takes a lot of time to resolve those conflicts because manually you have to go through each line of code and see, okay, the maybe you wrote something in the same line and the other person also wrote something in the same line, and that person has left the organization. And since you were not taking the pull at the regular interval, and also there was no handoff done, or there was documentation missing, so it becomes very manual process. So that's why it's recommended that you take a regular, what do you see, a pull request. Okay, so let me go to, again, we have got a lot of commands: git rebase, git merge, git cherry pick, git add, git commit, lot of things. There are certain tools like this git merge tool, uh, and I remember people using the way I'm using git bash to do my changes. They were using git GUI. So there you manually you see things like, okay, what is the difference, what changes to accept, what changes to decline. Okay, so you can read about git GUI, but I am more comfortable with the command line interface. Okay, major problem I would have faced with Git is with respect to merge conflict. Okay, and since I was into automation testing, I used to write what do you say, scripts and all, right? And initially, all those scripts were written using Excel file. So in Excel you can't see the difference, right? Like Git cannot, it would tell you that there is a difference in the Excel file, but it won't be able to pinpoint you the exact difference, right? So then it used to become very cumbersome in removing those conflicts. Okay, but later on we moved to BDD approach, where also we moved away from Excel's file, etc. So it was like simple, like if you are writing anything in the text format, and if there is a change in that text file, Git would give you exact lines, okay, where is the difference or not. Yeah, but with Excel file, you just knew that what version of file you have and what is there in master is conflicting. Now manually, now you had to download that file from the remote and from your local, and you had to compare. Okay. So if you want to study more commands, please refer. So there would be other online tutorials as well, but it's always advisable that you should go for official documentation of anything which you are learning new. So they'll tell you things in detail. Okay. Yeah. So for today, yeah, we covered all these things like, okay, git add, if specify, commit, push, pull, branch, checker. Okay, to move to any branch, create a new branch, status. Yeah, and also we studied about different regions. So you've got working directory, you've got staging area, you've got remote repository. How do you convert your normal folder to a git repository. Okay, Git init is the command. Okay, so this is all about the Git. Okay, now next we'll study about Maven, which is a build automation tool. So there would be one lecture on Maven, and after that, once we've completed Maven, we'll go to Jenkins, which is your continuous integration tool. Remember, once you've merged your changes to Git, what do you want? Right? You want to run something. You want to automate. You have automated certain test cases, and you want to run it. So one way is to manually trigger those run, or create a link between your Git and Jenkins. So that is webhook. We'll do that and you'll see. So moment any change would be done in the Git, Jenkins job would be triggered. Okay. And before that, you need to know about your build automation tool. So I've worked mainly on Java projects. So I know only Maven. Okay. But there are other build tools as well, like you would have heard, and Gradle, etc. Okay, so I am sharing what I know most. Okay, yeah. So thank you everyone. See you in our next session on Maven. Bye.